of us warned that COVID was the catalyst for Agenda 2030, a UN-driven plan to put the entire Earth into a digital surveillance grid that would mean the introduction of digital currency, digital ID, a social credit system where your online activities are directly linked to your ability to access money. Today, that is a reality. Australia introduced a voluntary digital ID in May of 2024, and as of December this year, just over a year later, Australians will not even be able to do a Google search without verifying themselves online. Now, in lockstep, the UK has announced they will also be pressing ahead with digital ID. Take a listen to the Labor Minister, Liz Kendall, essentially telling everyone what we already knew this was about. Digital ID will give you access to government services. In other words, if you don't have a digital ID, you won't have access to those services. Take a listen.
We know the government is looking at digital ID cards at the moment. How would that help prevent the situation that we're in now?
Well, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, has said we are looking at what other countries have done to bring in a sort of digital accreditation. I think there's real actually benefits right across here from obviously dealing with illegal working, but also actually imagine if your viewers imagine that they had one credential that would allow them to access all the different government services and our public services do. I'm sure many of your viewers often tear their hair out with all the different numbers and passwords of the different bits of government that they have to deal with. And I do think could be a real benefit here for people who are here and working legally and accessing our public services if there was one route in, as well as the benefits it could have with illegal migration. We're looking at that. I think it is an interesting idea that other countries have taken forward, and we want to learn from what they've done.
Another classic example of problem, reaction, solution. We'll explain what we mean by that in a moment, but here is an article from Reuters, UK Starmer to press ahead with digital ID plans. It says that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is moving forward with plans to introduce digital identification systems as part of efforts to overhaul the country's asylum and immigration system, which the problem that he created, with an announcement anticipated as early as his party's conference this month, the Financial Times reported on Friday. The finer details of this scheme were still being ironed out, and the timeline could change, the report added, citing two people briefed on the matter. Mind you, the timeline, everyone, just to be really, really clear, literally depends on data centers and their ability to process all of this data, which is why they're racing ahead with all of this. But I will continue with the article. It says that immigration and asylum remain at the heart of Britain's political debate, with the government under pressure to curb record migrant arrivals in small boats while also addressing the strain of housing tens of thousands of asylum seekers. One option under consideration would give digital IDs to all people legally entitled to reside in Britain, whether citizens or those with legal immigration status, the Financial Times said. The digital ID could be used for employment verification and rental agreements, though the government may still narrow the scope or revisit the plan, the newspaper added. A government spokesperson said Britain was committed to expanding the use of the technology to make it easier for people to access services, pointing to existing systems such as e-visas and the NHS app. Every single country in the West has opened their borders to legal and illegal immigration, and now we have a problem. We also have a reaction to that problem, quite a visceral one from the people, one that we then get promised will be solved, and then the solution is presented. Don't worry, everyone. These illegals will be deterred from staying here because they won't be able to access all of these services without a digital ID, which you will need to get to prove you're not an illegal, and which will eventually be required to access any services, and then the illegals will what? Run to another country that doesn't have digital ID? No. They will resort to more crime to survive, and of course the government goes really easy on that crime and the cycle continues. Let's not forget the government-funded NGOs that will scream about human rights abuses as soon as immigrants can't access services. Mind you, the very people they brought this digital ID in for don't have one, but you, the person who's paid your taxes all of your life and not invaded anyone else's country, now do. This isn't about illegal immigration any more than it is convenience. It's a plan that has been steadily progressing for years, and there is absolutely no indication this globalist agenda has slowed down in the slightest, despite our protests to it. They've just gotten better at propagandizing us into thinking it has. They tell us we are winning and solving problems. They give us rhetoric to make us think they are on our side. All the while, they fast-track Real ID, which is part of the building blocks of the exact same thing in the United States. They sell it as voluntary and convenient until it's not. People, please listen to me. This is something we've been saying for too long now. Once you tie this in with the ability to use the internet, like Australia's doing, which these days you can't do virtually anything without, and banking systems coupled with digital money, which will allow for immediate penalties or suspensions of accounts if the system doesn't like what you've said, done, or purchased, we'll talk about that in the next segment, you are staring down the barrel of complete imprisonment. This is the beast system. People need to oppose this with all of their being.